we're going to talk about how we can build an agent using VS Code, leveraging Copilot on VS Code, where we go to our VS Code, we use our AI agent to be able to create a pull request, do some task, push it to GitHub, and basically the whole setup. Now, the goal is very simple. The goal is for us to make sure that we're able to set up our AI agent to do what needs to be done. Now, let's get started. The first thing we want to do is we want to prompt our agent. We want to create an agent on VS Code. You can type /agent, create an agent that handles project planning. Now, it's going to ask you, user profile available in this workspace is this. And where do you want to put the file? Let's select this, chat only and plan. And then what should the agent be able to do? It should be able to write, to do, create milestone. And that's what we want the agent to do. The next thing is, should the agent be allowed to modify code? Let's say yes, we want the agent to be able to modify our code change. Now let's wait and see what it's going to do. Now what it's going to do next is it's going to reticulate these splines as you can see. Then it's going to start creating the file in this folder here. Once we create the files, we're going to review the files, and this will just be our agent creating our own custom agent. Project planning agent. Oh, looks like it's putting the project planning agent in a different location. Let's see. Where should the plan file be written by default? Docs plan slug. Okay. GitHub plans. Let's use this. Also, how strictly should the no code editor rule be enforced? Pros and cons is fine. Okay, let's choose pros and cons. Also, should the planner interview you before writing a plan? Yes. Before you can embark on any particular task. Now, this planner is going to give you an interview. More like, you're having a meeting, you want somebody else to implement your project. The person needs to be able to interview you. You can give the person enough context. How do you want the border color to be? What is the product spec? What is the brand color? What is the brand tone? What is the communication message? Do you want SEO, or do you want metadata? Where do you want your images to be stored? What is the current architecture of your product? So this is more like an interview question between the agent and the human that actually want to get the job done. So let's say yes, up to 3 questions when scope is unclear. Now, once you pass that information, then it's going to use it to understand where to the project planner agent. So our project planner agent is ready. As you can see, these are project planner agent is showing up here. Previously, before this, we only have agent ask plan. So now we have another agent specifically that you can use it when you are planning a project, a feature, a migration, or you want to do some refactoring. You want to break in the work into different phase and task, and then also estimating the scope. And also this project planning is also going to be able to identify the risk, the dependency, and then also some open-ended question that you might need to understand before you can even write any form of implementation plan. Now, this is step 1. Now, he also created 3 to-dos, as you can see. He created the project planner. He updated the default plan file location. He also improved the pros only for no-code files. So this is actually being embedded directly into your VS Code, the project planner that he created. Now let's say create another agent in my workspace that handles testing. Let's create agent. Then let's keep this. Now, the goal here is for us to actually have an agent that actually lives in our workspace. So let's allow you to also fix code. Let's say test file only, never touches source code. So here we actually wanted to be able to test our code. Do we want it to actually fix the code change? No, we don't want it to fix the code. We only want it to just do some test changes only, so that I can pass the information to the agent that actually wrote the code. Now the next thing here is What language test framework should it assume? Let's say the application language, because we don't know if the application is going to be on, Next.js, or if it's going to be on Vite, or it's going to be a Python application. So you should be smart enough to understand that. Okay, now as you can see, there is also a test engineering agent here. So after writing test cases, should it run? Only run tests it touches. As before running, always run the full suite. Yep, we want it to always run the full suite. Should it run test coverage report? Run the coverage report and site numbers. Run coverage report and enforce threshold. Yep. Also, how should the shell access be constrained? Trust the pros constraint. Yep, let's select that. So now our agent will be aware of this. So what should it go? Okay, let's say we wanted to use the let it use the repo configure threshold, and it should fall back to 80%. That's what we want, so that the repository itself controls the threshold and not the agent. But it's a default fallback, which is 80%. Nice. So now the next thing we want to do is we want to add an instruction, and with apply to set your test globe, e.g. Okay, so now the next thing we want to do is we want to add instruction, we want to add some skills, we want to add some interesting stuff to our agent. So let's do that. You don't have to write all this yourself. You can basically assign a task to the agent to do the agentic task while you just review. Now let's do an instruction. Create an instruction for the test engineer agent. So while that is going on, let's review what it was able to do. Now these are our test engineer. I would like to give our test engineer a name. Okay, which text file pattern should auto attach the instruction? Let's select everything, just in case. Okay, which convention should the instruction enforce? We want it to enforce every single convention in terms of arrange, act, assert, structure, no conditional loop, and then also no shared mutable state between tests. And then let's click on submit. Okay, so here, let's keep it broad on the coverage. Slim agent and let it differ. Yep. Now, this is an instruction that you need to understand so that you can use an instruction that can also work alongside with the agent. Now, the best thing you want to do here is you will need to create all the things that your agent needs. Here, we've been able to create multiple agents. As you can see, we have a planner agent, which actually is embedded into the core of our application. Into the core of our device. But then we have a test agent, which is actually embedded into the core of our workspace. And then also, we can also configure some custom agents. And another thing you could also have here is you could also have database agent, you could have a front-end agent, the design agent, and then also let's also add some skills, and your agent is tied to, they are all tied together as well. So let's also add the skills. Create skills for the test agent. Okay, now we're going to create a skills for a test engineering agent. Now, while this is going on, let me explain some few things. Skills is more like the ability for an agent to have. More like somebody that got employed for a job. There are a couple of skill sets that the person might need to have. Skill sets such as being able to reach out to AWS. Now, in order to reach out to AWS, there will be a set of knowledge that you need to have. Knowledge such as being able to use AWS CLI. Knowledge such as being able to understand how to use a particular command line, understand how to use JQ, understand how to use grep when it's needed. So these are different skill sets that human being needs to have to do some certain task. And then also you can transfer those skill sets to the agent itself. So by doing that, you're empowering the agent to actually own more tasks so that you can actually do more stuff. While you just oversee and you assign, you delegate. Okay, which test workflow should it become skills? Okay, test with Bootstrap. Let's keep it in the workspace. Okay, so now it's creating file. The file that is going to create is going to create a skills file, and it's going to be an additional folder here inside the .github. Now, if you're wondering, how is this file structured? So the way Copilot works is Copilot tends to use a folder style of structure. Okay. Now, the folder style of structure in the sense that in the .github, in the current workspace, this is the root. This is the workspace itself. Here, let me delete these sample folders. Okay, so here, anything you put here, anything you put inside your GitHub, it will be picked up by your Copilot, your GitHub Copilot. So here we have agent. This is where your agent stays, or your agent file, different kind of agent that you're creating. Everything stays here. Your instruction stays here. You can tie your instructions to your agent, and then your skills also stays here. You can tie your skills to your agent. As you can see, we have bug report test, we have the coverage gap analysis, we also have our flaky test triage. So these are different skills, and these are skills that is being tied to our test engineering agent here. You can also add more to this. This approach of creating agent instruction skills and having this agent to be like a single file, this is what we call a file structure and agent structure. In some other structure, it tends to be folder based. Let me see if I can bring up a sample of that. But before that, let's finish our setup. Okay, so here we have we have about 4 skills so far that's been created. And also our agent is also aware of it. Now let me show you our agent being aware of that. So here it has been reported that you are a test editor agent, okay, and then this is the description, which is used when writing, running, or fixing tests, adding unit tests or integration, test, reproduce bugs. So basically these are all the description related to the test agent. And also it also says that you're a test engineer, your job is to produce tests that would actually catch a regression and also diagnose failure precisely. And also it says that your authority convention in terms of your naming, your structure, the mocking, the determinism, and the assertion everything lives where? Everything lives in the test authority instructions. And then also auto attach when they edit the files. You can also follow them. Do not restate them. And then also the skills that we just created, as you can see, load the matching skills instead of improving a procedure. So which simply means do not try to improvision a procedure. These are the skill set that you have, and use this skill set to your advantage. And also there's some constraint, there's an approach to it, there's diagnosis failure. So this is something that you can reproduce. If you know you're about to embark on a project, right, you can take your time to set up your agents, your agentic fleet. Specify the you can also specify a database agent, where you specify a database agent, the structure of the database, how it's going to mock the database, how it's going to structure it, and then also how we can also prevent a couple of issues on the database. You could also set up a network agent as well, where every single instruction, guideline, skill set that the agent needs to have, you could also set it up as well. And I believe you can also set up a prompt. Let's see if we can also create a prompt. Create prompt. Create prompt for the test agent. Okay, so we're actually using a test engineer as a sample for creating the agent, for creating the instructions, for creating the skills, and then also we're also going to be using as a sample for creating the prompt as well. So everything's going to be in our workspace, and this is what we call my space. So once you're able to understand this, moving from setting up your VS Code environment, so actually understand how to set up an agent for any new project, for adding new features, for adding, before you embark on any project, okay, you have to make sure, and your project is going to rely on agent squarely. Make sure you specify the agent, work with every single stakeholder on the project, such as database engineer, the network engineer, the design engineer, and the front end and the back end engineer. Gather all the scope and then structure your agent to be able to handle all these different workflow. So also your teammate can also prompt this agent to also get a desirable result, because when the front end is working on a particular project and you need some verification from the database, the agent is also aware of what is also going on. So the agent will be able to like implement the task, and then the front end engineer or the back end engineer or the database engineer will be able to verify what was done. It makes it much easier for the agent to get the job done. Okay, so now we just wait for our agent to just get the job done. While we do that, while we wait on that, let's explore some interesting functionalities. So also another thing is your GitHub also have agents section as well, where you can actually interact with the agent based on the particular pull request. So this is just something I'm just pointing out while our agent is setting up our prompt. Okay, our prompt has been set up. So now the agent has set up prompt for our test engineering. And what that does, this prompt actually critiques the existing repo, the authoring convention. As you can see, is review test, and then this one is test diff, and then also this one is write test for. We basically write a test for a particular file, a particular function or class, takes a part of symbol in the input. So what this one is going to do is going to really target and identify the real contract, such as the input, the output, the side effect, thrown error, and any state that mutate. So all this was set up specifically for our test engineering agent. Now our test engineering agent have a wider context such as he has skills, he has instructions, he has prompt, and he also has some couple of guidelines of what it needs to understand before it starts trying to debug a particular application or a particular product. So this is how you harness the power of your Copilot on VS Code. so that you can tap into at least 90% of the capability of your Copilot on VS Code. Remember, if you want to move exponentially fast, you can just drop this into autopilot mode. Make sure you've actually set up your implementation, you've set up your plan, you've set up your agent, you provide all your agent all the context, you even supply them a credential that they can actually reference for trying to gain access to, let's say, test or dev environment. So once you're able to set up the instruction for the agent, you spend less time having to prompt, and you spend more time having to review and critique deliverables. Okay, now another thing I want to show quickly is there are different ways of structuring your agent folder. This style structure here is the file structure, where you can have a engineering agent. You could also have like a database agent, right? You could also have a database agent. Now these have a file structure. There's another structure on the flow that is called a folder structure. An example of that is this. So now there's that different kind of folder structure, and the other one is something like this. Let me paste it here. I think I have a file. Let me add B to this so that we can have a side-to-side comparison between the two. Oh, okay. Okay, so the second type is I just pasted this here, is something like this, where you have the .github, and then you have all these agents. Here you can see the backend agents have all the files in one location, which is this agent file, this is the rules, this is the skills, this is the checklist. I could also decide to have instruction here. I could also decide to have prompt, and then customize it based on that. So it simply means a backend engineer have every single thing it needs in one folder. And you're also your database engineer, also your DevOps engineer, also your front-end engineer. So you could also have it structured this way, where if they have anything that is common in terms of instruction, then you can now have a shared form of instruction. A shared form of instruction in such a way that, let's say, your architecture diagram, your agent, your backend engineer, your database engineer, and your, let's say, DevOps engineer, they need to have access to the architecture instruction. Then you can now have a separate folder called instructions, and you can point them into the respective agent to basically read through, because it's an instruction that is shared across multiple agents. The same thing applies to having a prompt also, where if the prompt is shared across multiple agents, you get to see that in action. And also this is for Copilot, where you also have the information around all the agents we got for the Copilot. So these are the structure that you can set up. You can set it up as a folder. You can also set it up as a file here. So once you're able to set this up, you've successfully mastered every single thing in your GitHub, GitHub Copilot, leveraging VS Code IDE. Okay, and that is how you set up your AI agent and let it do everything that you need to do. It does way more than just writing code. It allows you to debug. It allows you to also understand the application itself. Okay, if you have any question, feel free to drop a comment. Happy to respond. And then also you can subscribe on this channel. You can also follow some of my tutorial. Thank you.